So, legacy. This idea that we're going to be remembered by something, that we're going to do something so powerful, so impactful in our life that will be remembered forever. And this motivation gives us meaning for so many different things. And I kind of think it's BS. In fact, the way I live, and in fact, what I live for right now is my family. It is what we do and what we create. It's also my groups. It's also the guys around me and all these different commitments. But I don't live so I'll be remembered. I live for what we do and create today. In any case, I gotta get back in this water, and as for you, man, there's a lot to this. We recorded this actually on amazing calls, a Wednesday night call on our MD Excellence group, and man, that night was awesome. We were riffing on a lot of different ideas, and hey man, I'm just happy to take you guys with it, so let's go to that podcast. TT! Ah. Hey guys, my name is Steve Mayeda, and I'm a men's coach in Austin, Texas. I'm a BJJ practitioner, a Wim Hof enthusiast. I have an amazing family, 4 awesome boys and a beautiful wife. And what this podcast is about being the better man. What we talk about is tried and true because we've been doing it with groups of men just like you for over 12 years. Listen up and I hope you enjoy. Welcome, gentlemen. Steve Mayeda here. I'm the founder of Austin Men's Development and all this good stuff that you are listening to. But more importantly, what this is about men leveling up, being your best possible self. And where men are coming from in so much of today is just like such a crazy point of confusion. One of the best things that I can tell you to do is that you need to surround yourself with strong men rather than weak men. Because the worst thing you can do is build a community of men that are hurt, damaged, that are looking for an answer, searching for an answer, have maybe found the easy answer, but have not tested and proven themselves and lived through things. And you end up just in a cycle of pain and a cycle of dysfunction, and it just happens over and over again. And so one of the things that we were talking about is legacy, is what do men look for? What do men want in the world? And man, there's a whole bunch of backstory of why we were talking about this, but we were talking about what makes our lives work, what makes our lives have meaning and build up to something that makes me want to live, that makes me know my life is worth something. And I think so many guys are out there like searching for something because their life isn't worth something. And really how we were talking about this is because literally all of men's development that's being sold to you, which is something that we as a group, we're on our Wednesday night call right now, have a problem with much of men's development, not all of it, but because there's so many guys just searching, clawing for an answer, and they're looking for whatever just sounds good and all this sort of stuff. And we hear this thing about legacy. We hear this thing about like, you're going to be remembered. You're going to be seen. And as one of the things that we were referencing said, you're going to be rotting in the earth and your bones are going to be disintegrated. But somebody who taught you is now going to be voiced through you, and you've taught 100 people. And now there's 1,000 people across the world sharing your voice and message. And that's how you live. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, that is what I do. I don't, speak to that many people, but there's 10 people on the call right now, and it's 11 p.m. Austin time. And we've been talking since 6 p.m. Austin time, and probably, X amount of guys, like 30 people have rotated through this call. But that's what I do. And you know what I hope? What happens with anybody that I help, and I do that. This is what I do for a living. This is what I've done, and I have to be good at it because I've only done this and survived through a very tough market of doing it, is that I hope that you guys go on and live your life and you forget about me, that it stops being about what I said to you. Is that I hope you do it. And that's kind of how life works. That's how everything happens. And we were talking about the things that make us great as a man. We were talking about, being married. One of the guys was talking about his marriage for 23 years. He ended up getting a divorce, and how the most important thing in that, and another thing that came out of this is that a lot of guys, because this actually came from a question, of a guy writing in about his marriage and so on. And perhaps we'll get to that in a different rant of sorts. But the best thing that guy could do is look at himself, is examine who he is. And this gentleman who was giving advice about his marriage said, man, when I realized I looked at myself, I realized what it meant to be a leader, what it meant to not lead at times. And what it meant to be a leader wasn't that you were always on top. It wasn't that you were posturing. It wasn't that you needed a technique. It wasn't that you needed a frame. It wasn't that you needed a terminology to somehow set you in that place of a leader. It was that you needed to lead. And by leading, simply, you needed to be a man, have a family, provide for your kids, do the next best thing. And he said, what's so interesting is that you're also going to lose. And what sucks and what is one of the worst things in the world, and we all know this, and this is so prevalent in my life, is that when you are a leader for your family, you can and will lead your family into a loss. And you need to learn how to take that, and you need to learn how to live that. And that those types of things that we run from in masculinity, or what we see from like the sideline fanboys of masculinity of all these different people, is that we see these guys running from ever being that they'll sit on the sidelines and intellectualize it, think about the smartest choice, rearrange stuff without experience. And what is so important with men and men's development is that we learn from men, is that when we hear from these different groups and so on, which is so sad, which is such a freaking bummer. And what is actually something that we don't do in our groups is that we see guys who don't experience. And they theorize and they talk about how to live right. Whereas you could walk into any barbershop around the world, any pool hall, any cigar bar, any place, any gym, any place where men hang out and they put themselves on the line and they gather up, and they have experienced men. They have men who are hurt. They have men who are getting better. They have men who are learning, but they have a well-roundedness of what masculinity actually is, because there's people living it and actually doing it and going through this ebb and flow process. Is that you see people say a lot of the stuff that these groups are saying. Like, man, geez, God, women lie to you. Man, my old lady said this. Fuck, man, Jesus, I woke up and she was yelling at me about this. She was telling me this and that and what's wrong with my life and blah, 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 blah. Or we were breaking up and she said, man, I've never loved you. I've never even been attracted to you. You're not the man I married. You're like all this sort of stuff. And it's crazy, because when a man takes responsibility for himself, and that's another thing that I hear all the time, it's like all about personal responsibility, but they spend the whole time blaming women or society or culture, or this is the reason why these things are happening. Man, fuck that. If you have a problem, the only thing that you have is yourself. That's the only thing that you can fix. And don't get me wrong, you can be a victim. You can be somebody that has a problem happen to you. But if you've had something done to you and you are in the game of life, you have played the game wrong. You made choices before that relationship and that interaction, which made you a victim. You have something to fix, and you can fix. Before you go looking at other people, man, like start looking at yourself. And that's all you can do. And do it devoutly. You know, you want to be a leader? Man, look at you. Work towards you. Share that part of yourself that is challenged and tested by yourself with the world around you. Don't be afraid to lose. And back to this legacy thing, because this is really what I wanted to talk about. The greatest thing which makes all this work, which made you a man, which made you a living human being, which made your biology, which made your brain work, which made your thoughts happen, which made all this happen. And I'm not getting into the whole spiritual element of it, but I'm getting to biology. This boundary of life, which made you. This thing which made you a man. You're never going to be better than it. You might be better than yourself, your former self. You might be better than other men around you in a certain way. But we are bound to this thing called life. We can change it. We can augment it. We can take vitamins. We might even learn to do AI or whatever and live on forever, the fantasy of every man. But this thing, it is within the realm of life, in the realm of biology, in the realm of life, which gave you your life, which in essence gave you your personality, your ability to have the hormones that influence you, the way your brain is shaped and formed, that thinks and reacts and has ambition and purpose in all these different ways. How does it live? Does it create life that gets worshipped and thought of? Does it create something that needs to be seen and adored by everybody out there? Does it? And perhaps it does. If you really look at how life works, it cycles in these ways. But does it worship a singular moment or memory or thing or event? And then ask yourself, why does a man need that? Why do you need that to get through the day? Why do you need that to say you're a leader? Why do you need that to step up and say, yes, I will raise this family. Yes, I will take on this challenge. Yes, I will do better for myself. You know what my hunch is for that? The reason why you need that, the reason why you say you have to be an event that is remembered by man for the rest of man's time is because you yourself are not good enough in front of the fellow man in front of you. That is a complete misinterpretation of the potential of you. Because the most beautiful thing, and just get to this, the most beautiful moment you can have, and this is why I believe in being social. It's such a great thing. The most beautiful thing that you can have is a moment where you organically share with somebody else. What I mean by organically is share your emotion, share your expression, share your moment. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be great. You don't have to win. You don't have to lose. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be anything, but you have to be. And in order for you to be, you don't need a legacy. You need an expression. You need you. You need what you already have. Go out in the world and be that. That doesn't sound grandiose. That doesn't sound anything. That doesn't sound like what people want. That doesn't sound like when you're in pain, when you get your heart stomped on by a woman, or you lose your job, or you need a fucking hero because you can't face your own self. But I'm telling you, as somebody who does do this for a living, who changes and influences people's lives, is that's what you need to be. And man, God, fuck, why would I want a legacy? Why would I want that? Why would I need that? Because the worst part about that is, for what people remembered me, is it would never, ever come close to who I am talking to you right now, today. Be that.